All right, West Virginia fans, All-American weekend. The women's basketball team is victorious versus Miami, Ohio in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. The baseball team sweeps BYU to remain dominant in the Big 12, and Ty Waters returns to the podium at the NCAA wrestling tournament. We'll break down all those topics today on the JerseyEer Show. Before we do, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to JerseyEer. We really appreciate all the support. If you are into West Virginia sports coverage, then this is the place to be. So definitely subscribe to the show. That being said, let's get into today's show. So let's break down this women's basketball game that happened yesterday at the Hope Coliseum. It was the third straight season with an NCAA tournament win for this program. So Mark Kellogg has this thing rolling right now, as we all know, and it was a great showing from the women's basketball team for a great performance in front of a large crowd. As you can see, 13,504 fans were there. So that set a program record, which is a step in the right direction for this program. The 28-point victory was the largest margin of victory in an NCAA game in program history. West Virginia was stingy on defense. They forced 15 turnovers and scored 21 points off of those turnovers. They crashed the glass. They won the rebound battle, 40 rebounds to 24. And they silenced Glenn Box. And I think this is the best part of the story is Glenn Box is the coach for Miami, Ohio. And going into the game, he was a little overconfident, in my opinion. You know, he had some quotes that we're going to show you in a second and just seemed really overconfident with his team. And it seemed like he was ready for the upset in Morgantown. So I want to get to these comments from him and talk about this because he looks pretty poorly after his team performance. Let's get into this.
To be here, and whether we're here or South Carolina or wherever, our expectation and our standard here within this program is to win championships and win games. We don't care who we play. We respect West Virginia and what they've done, but when it comes time to play, we expect to compete at a high level. We expect to win. And that's how we move around here. You know, we've gotten here in 3 years, and there's a reason why we got here in 3 years for where we came from. You know, we didn't come here by taking a back seat to anybody. We had to beat people out with recruiting. You know, we had to turn people into ball players. We had to do some tough things to get here, and we're here now. So, you know, we don't have any intention on taking a step back to West Virginia. Matter of fact, we welcome the 10,000 people here. I want the whole state of West Virginia here.
All right, so bold words from him. But when you make a comment like that, when you come that confidently, you better hope your team backs it up. And their team did not back it up, as we can see the score. And I totally get a coach trying to inspire his team and have confidence in his team. But I just think he kind of looked a little bit arrogant in those comments. Just the way he said, I hope the whole state of West Virginia shows up. It almost made it insinuate that they were going to pull off the upset and shock people. And I totally get, you know, having confidence in your team. But again, you better hope your team shows up and performs when you make comments like that. And he has some egg on his face and some embarrassment after those comments, in my opinion, with his team's performance. And I'm sure the West Virginia fans yesterday were hollering at him and letting him know that, you know, you can make the comments, but your team has to show up, and they definitely didn't. If you see the scores here, the leading scorers, Sydney Shaw, 19 points, Gia Cooke had 18, Jordan Harrison with 15, and Wheeler had 14. So they got a mirage of points from a lot of players hitting the double-figure mark, which is extremely impressive. So now this team makes their attention towards Kentucky tomorrow at 5 p.m., a chance to go to the Sweet 16 for both teams. Whoever wins this one is going to be heading there. So it's super exciting for this program. It's super exciting to be a Mountaineer fan. And I'm just so happy that the fans showed up for this one and supported this team and filled the Coliseum. I thought it was a great gesture to a great team and a great program that's been really consistent over the last few years. So good luck to the women tomorrow as they take on Kentucky. All right, let's talk about baseball. Baseball team is absolutely rolling right now. Let's break down each game. Game one, it was a bounce back for Montessa. You know, Montessa, the last performance he had was not great. Walked a lot of batters and was hitting people and giving free passes. That was not the case on Thursday when he pitched 7 innings, 2 runs, 3 hits, had 7 Ks and 0 walks. So a major bounce back performance for him and his confidence. And West Virginia continues to give him the ball in series openers. And it's going to be important that he pitches like he did on Thursday. So that was a great sign to see Montesa bounce back. Perez has been elite again out of the bullpen guys. He's a freshman. He's earned his 3rd save of the season, and he's been a reliable guy that West Virginia can count on in crunch time, and that's great to see. Gavin Kelly is continuing to be elite. He had his 3rd home run of the season in this one. And then Schoenfeld had 2 incredible games. We're going to talk about his next one too, but it started with Thursday's game. 2 hits, 3 walks. He made some incredible plays in the field. So if you've seen the highlights of those incredible catches for him, and overall it was a great team win for West Virginia. Nice balance win with good pitching and good hitting. Game 2, the comeback kids. Again, this team has faced a lot of adversity this year, and they continue to find ways to bounce back. They found themselves down 5 runs, and they kept chipping away at it to get a win. Schoenfeld, back-to-back games where he has a monster game. This time he was 5 for 5 with 2 doubles, 2 RBI, and 2 runs. So he went 10 at-bats in a row and got on base all 10 times. That's really hard to do in baseball. In baseball, if you get on base 3 times out of 10, that's considered really successful. So the fact that he was able to get on base 10 straight times was super impressive from him. He's having a great season. And again, Gavin Kelly remains special. 3 hits, 3 ribbies to go along with those hits. Brody Kresser had a similar game with 3 hits and 3 RBI. And then the team is just heating up right now. The bats are starting to heat up, and that could be because of the weather heating up too. Baseball, I think when you watch baseball, especially as the summer happens and then the spring and you start having warmer weather, the bats start really heating up, and the ball was jumping off West Virginia's bat this weekend. If you watch the games, if you watch the highlights of those games, they were smoking the ball, and a lot of the balls were just absolute lasers off of the bat. So I think that was really encouraging to see. And then Ian Korn here, guys, came up really big. West Virginia doesn't win this game if Ian Korn doesn't pitch as well as he did. He had 4.2 innings in relief, gave up 2 runs and had 7 Ks. So that was a great outing for him when they didn't get the best starting pitching performance, and that really helped the team stay in this one as they battled back. And then game 3 yesterday they just took the momentum from the day before and kept it rolling with an 11-1 victory. Super Sean Smith, he had a great game, 2 hits, a home run, a triple, and he scored 3 runs. So great output from him and all the things that he did. Gavin Kelly, again, just another day in the park for him, 2 hits and 2 ribbies. Titus Hall in the back of the order has reached base 4 times with 2 ribbies and 2 runs. So he's been a guy at the back of the order that's been really reliable as they turn the lineup over. He's been a nice piece there. And then the story really is Maxx Yehl. He has been so dominant the last 2 performances and really all year, has a really low ERA right now and has just been dominating hitters when he takes the mound. Another great performance of 7 innings and 11 Ks. The last performance he had, he went 8 innings and struck out double-digit batters. So he's been absolute dominant. If he keeps pitching like this, he's going to probably be a high MLB draft pick in one of those rounds because he's just absolutely crushing it right now with a perfect 4-0 record. And then West Virginia in general, guys, are just off to a great start right now. They're 16-4 and they're 5-1 in the conference. And it seems like it was 100 years ago when everyone was concerned about this team with Chase Meyer leaving and the turmoil and blowing that game versus Kennesaw State. But since then, this team has really turned the tide, and they've kept themselves together to win each and every series. They have not lost a series. They get the sweep here, and they put themselves in a really good position in the Big 12 standings really early in the season. They're going to play Marshall on Tuesday, and, it's going to be Marshall's best shot. They always like to hype up this rivalry as we consider them little brother. So they definitely want to show something. So that game's going to be on Tuesday for the baseball team. So the season's starting to heat up. They're exciting to watch, and it should be a good rest of the season. All right, let's put a bow on wrestling season. Wrestling season just ended last night, And the face of the program, Ty Waters, made himself back to the podium, which is awesome to see. Ty Waters battled injury last year and wasn't able to go in the postseason. His season was cut short. So he took fourth in 2024 as a freshman, comes back this year as a sophomore with eligibility wise, and gets back to the podium in sixth place, which is awesome for the program to be represented on this stage and have an All-American. And like I said, he's the face of the program now, two-time All-American. And when people think of West Virginia wrestling, they're going to think of Ty Waters. Came in as an 11 seed, which I thought was a little bit like disrespectful to him just because he is a returning All-American. This guy only had, 2 or 3 losses coming into the tournament in this one, and has shown himself as a really competitive wrestler, and he's done it before, and he did it again. So he beat some really quality opponents. My favorite match of his through the weekend was the win over Meyer Shapiro of Cornell. It was a 6-5 match, and he wrestled really a great match in that one. And Shapiro is a really, really good kid and really dangerous wrestler and really entertaining to watch. That one was super exciting to watch. And then he was on the national stage as semifinals on Friday night and wrestled returning national champ Antrell Taylor from Nebraska. And it was a close match. Unfortunately, Waters just couldn't finish the takedowns. Taylor is really tough to score, and he's really athletic. And he gave it his best shot, but just fell a little bit short. Ended up taking a loss in the Conci semis, and then medically forfeited out. So he didn't wrestle his last match and took sixth place. And, a lot of times, if the guys are banged up in that last round, you're already an All-American. There's not that much of a difference, in my opinion, from, fourth or fifth or, seventh or eighth. It's you're still an All-American. And West Virginia Nation is definitely proud of Waters for making it back to the podium. He still has a bright future ahead of him with 2 years of eligibility left. Let's talk about the end of the road. This is always a bittersweet time for wrestling fans, because you see guys like Ty Waters hit the podium and All-American, so you're super excited about that. But it's also the end of a career for wrestlers, and for guys that have stuck with the program for a couple years now. Let's start with Jordan Titus. So Jordan Titus is a 4-time NCAA qualifier, had 90-plus career wins, and he was a 4-time place winner at the Big 12s. And, 90 career wins is a nice feather in your cap, man. College wrestling is extremely challenging at the Division I level. Everyone that you're wrestling in Division I is pretty much like a 2 or 3-time state champ, or, at least a state place winner in general. So each match is extremely challenging. Every match you take out there, you're wrestling extremely talented individuals. So the fact that he picked up 90 career wins and was a staple in West Virginia's lineup for a long time should be highlighted. So congratulations to him for a great career. Best of luck in your future. And then Jett Strickenberger, let's talk about him, man. He's just a guy that's tough as nails. He was entertaining to watch. And it's a sad ending for him, because he lost in the blood round 2 straight years. Last year he was in the blood round and lost a really tough one, and this year as well. So he's a guy that is right there. But again, he's a Big 12 champion in 2025. He had 60 wins as a Mountaineer, came from the JUCO level and did great things there. And just was one of another face of the program that people recognize. When I think of West Virginia wrestling, I thought this year of Strickenberger and Waters. Those were the two that really led the team. So to see him go is sad. It's a part of the journey. He had some nice words on his Instagram after he was done. It sounds like he wants to stick with the sport in some capacity, whether it's giving back his coaching or whatever. So 2 good careers for West Virginia. They'll be missed as they end their college wrestling careers. All right, let's talk about the future now. I think going into the season, I made a video about the wrestling team and the program and how it was a program on the rise, and they did some good things. I was hoping they'd get a few more All-Americans this year at NCAAs. Only having Waters was a little disappointing, because I thought Strickenberger had a chance, and Rune Lawrence put himself in position to possibly be an All-American as well. But the future of the program is bright, guys. I mean, if you look at what Tim Flynn has built here, they've had some quality wins, and they've been respectable, and they've beaten some respectable programs. And I think that if they can retain these guys on the screen, they should bring back a really strong roster next year. And Tim Flynn has always been really able to retain these guys. I remember crossing paths with him at Edinburgh Wrestling Camp years ago, and I just admired how well he ran that program and put them into relevancy. And he's doing the similar thing at West Virginia. And if you look at West Virginia, where they're located on a map, you're right around Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Look, there's a lot of talented states around West Virginia, so they should be able to really start building this thing. And you have the pieces next year if you retain these guys to have a really solid team. Brody Connolly, this guy on the screen here, he probably should have been an NCAA qualifier this year. He probably should have had in that large bid. He's really solid on top, so he's going to come back next year. Seems like Ian Bush had a great Big 12 tournament, taking third place, and he's going to be a guy in the upper weights that you can count on. Ty Waters, as we mentioned, is a two-time All-American. Rune Lawrence, for his first action as a full-time starter this year, did really great things, making the NCAA tournament and winning a bunch of matches and beat some really solid guys along the way this year. And then Gunnar Andrick is a freshman who just continued to get better. I thought he'd do a little bit better in the NCAA tournament, but overall, he had a great season, and he's proven to be a guy that's going to be here to stay as a solid component of the lineup. And you think about some of the guys they're bringing in their high school class as well. This could be a really, really dangerous roster next year. And I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward for this team moving forward is, what is the portal going to look like? They brought in Willie McDougall this year, who had trouble staying healthy. They brought in Louis Gill, who was a solid wrestler in replace of Strickenberger when he wasn't able to go. If I'm West Virginia, man, I want to see them get aggressive and make a few splashy things. I know wrestling's not our top priority at West Virginia. It's hard to spend the NIL money, but with the scholarships that have been increased and the way this program is going, I think there are a few wrestlers away from really taking that next step and getting into that next tier. I think they're that close. Who knows? Maybe they can get like a heavyweight in the portal to kind of solidify that upper spots. There's a lot of different things they could do here. So I think it's going to be an interesting offseason to see what happens. But if they can bring back these 5 guys and fill in some pieces with the freshmen in the portal, this could be a really dangerous team next year that can really improve it and continue to climb this wrestling ladder. All right, that's all I got, man. Fun episode. I haven't been on in a few days. I wanted to let the stories build and really sit back and watch the wrestling, the baseball, the basketball, and support these teams and watch it before I made anything else. So we'll do some videos this week. We'll talk about the girls' basketball as their season continues. Baseball has some games this week, so spring football is going to be back in action. So it's a busy time as a Mountaineer fan. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in to the JerseyEer Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. Have a good one.